Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have another special interview. And this one is very special because there are a lot of people who are trying to leverage LinkedIn as a resource for their business, whether it's networking and, very important, to generate clients. So I have someone on that is excellent at speaking to that subject matter. Miss Belinda Aramide, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Terrell. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. Now, did I pronounce the last name right?
You did. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Perfect. Perfect. So before we jump into, your business and the things the value that you're adding for, turning LinkedIn connections into clients, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I have a little over 10 years of professional sales experience. So selling, from mom and pop shops all the way up into the Fortune 500. I've had my consulting company for almost 2 years now. And really the catalyst for starting it was I kept kind of bumping heads with senior leadership, sales leadership, about my sales philosophies and the way I felt people wanted to be sold to and what the sales process needed to look like. And I kept getting a lot of feedback from my prospects when I was a sales executive saying, oh my gosh, this was just such a pleasant experience. Typically when dealing with you salespeople, it's not. And, while I took it as a great compliment, I'm like, no wonder they won't answer my phone calls. They can't stand people with my title, right? And so really I came into the business of, I really wanted to change the way that we sell. I wanted to change the way that people receive salespeople. So it's easier for people to sell things that people actually need, and empower people to not hate sales because I don't know if anybody noticed, if you don't sell anything, you do not have a business. So it's an integral, function, just as important as the idea itself. If you don't know how to sell a great idea, then you're not going to make any money, right? I've seen some really, really brilliant ideas out there from, absolutely fantastic entrepreneurs, but they don't have the sales skills. And I think that that is so unfortunate. And that's why I do what I do. Hopefully that's a good answer. I never know while I'm talking. I'm like, Belinda, you are going off on a tangent. So
I think that is an amazing answer. Now, when how was that process, or what was the feelings like going from, being a sales executive to say, you know what, I'm going to step out and kind of do something on my own? What was that process like?
So what was the process like? It was a couple of things because my husband is also an entrepreneur, and he is pretty good at what he does. Hopefully he doesn't listen to this interview, hear me give him all these compliments, but I'm a very competitive person. So when I went into entrepreneurship, it's like I wanted and expected things to be just kind of seamless, moving from being a successful sales executive, going straight into being a successful entrepreneur, and then having, coming, really in the shadows of a successful entrepreneur already in the family. And so I will say that the transition was not as simple as I had hoped. And I think that the biggest thing was I went from representing a company and myself and like having that separation to now I am what I'm selling. And that was very strange and different for me. And I was focused on just selling, bringing a new business to, I had to worry about the entire business. And so it's a completely different skill set. Like you have to think about things that you didn't think of before. So I think that going into entrepreneurship more than anything, and like I created these weird, scenarios and situations just in my head because as an entrepreneur, it's such a mental game, and though only the mentally strong will survive. You can have all the skills, you can have all the money and investment in your business as possible, but if you aren't mentally strong, you're not going to make it. And it is 1000%, why my husband is as successful as he is as an entrepreneur. because he is probably one of the most mentally strong people I've ever seen in my life. And going through the trials and tribulations of entrepreneurship myself, I've always had a lot of empathy for all the things that my husband would go through. But then there's no empathy like going through it yourself, right? And experiencing something yourself. It just takes empathy to a whole new level. So I think the number one thing is it was the mental strength that I needed and
Gotcha.
had to really gain transitioning.
Gotcha. And I can absolutely agree with that because I left my full time, I guess my corporate finance role back in March. And like I said, when you are really good at what you do, like the craft and the technical side, but then when you step into, running your own business to where it's like you got all the other aspects of the business that you have to think through to where
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. It is a completely new skill set that you have to develop because it's more than just, your technical skill. Now you got to figure out, how do I build a business around the skills that I can execute on?
Yeah. And these skills that you just probably don't have. There's at least one major skill that you need that you don't have. And it's like, well, dang, I can't pick up the phone and dial extension 237. Like,
Also, now you actually specialize in a skill that a lot of business owners struggle at because one of the things that I witness is a lot of business owners, they know the technical side, whether it's their product or if they're a service provider, they know how to do their service, but they don't always know how to sell. And to that point that you just mentioned, I mean, if your top line of your business is zero, you don't have a business. So
mhm.
if you can't make sales, then you really don't have a business. So tell us a little bit about your business and the services you provide.
Yeah. So I think to answer the first part of your question, sales and selling is first and foremost you having a business focused conversation with someone, right? You're understanding what it is that's going on in their business in relation to the industry or the specific, you know, thing that you sell. And I think that before you can begin selling, you have to have an understanding of what the other person goes through within the context of their business, or even if you sell to consumers within a certain portion of their life. Like if a lawn care person is asking me about where I get my hair done, they're probably not going to sell me on lawn services because they're having the wrong kind of conversation.
Gotcha.
Um, and so I think when it comes to LinkedIn, and now I think I've half forgotten the question. So please ask again if I haven't answered it. Um, I think, when it comes to leveraging LinkedIn as a tool for your business, I think probably one of the biggest mistakes that people make is that they're afraid to have that business conversation on LinkedIn specific to the thing that they sell. The best salespeople, because everyone's selling something, right? The best salespeople are naturally curious, and they're very good. They're naturally curious, and they're very good at communicating and learning how to communicate um, not just the features and benefits, but how the features and benefits apply to their target market. And now as I'm talking, and I'm like, I don't think I answered the question. So please ask it again.
But I think that was great wisdom.
Thank you.
Uh, because the question was around like, for your business, what are the products and the services that you
Oh,
offer in your business?
my Belinda, I don't know where I was going. I said I wanted to go to California and start walking in the other direction. Anyways, so the services that I offer. So when it comes to my company, Salesfluence Consulting, I help both executives as well as teams with how they leverage LinkedIn to sell. So when I'm working with an executive or with an entrepreneur, it's around shaping what they're basically, what's a good analogy? It's almost like I'm an interior designer for someone's LinkedIn presence. So how is it that they are leaving an impression on the platform. So we're looking at everything from their profile picture, their LinkedIn headline, their about section, making sure that those things are painting the kind of picture that they want their ideal client to know and understand when it comes to their business, as well as their professional expertise, right? At the end of the day, if I'm hiring someone to mow my lawn, I would love to know that you know how to not just mow the lawn, but maybe take care of the health of my lawn. For someone else, all they care about is like, just whack those weeds down. That's all I care. Do you have a lawnmower and some time? So it's making sure that you share you position yourself on your profile so that you are beginning to attract the kind of customer that you want to attract. Um, and then a really important part of it is the quality of your network. So I'm not one of those people who says, run out and get as many connections as you can. If you are, let's say, a local realtor, right? In order to be a realtor, you have to be licensed, within your state. And so you getting a bunch of connections from people who live in Dubai or who live in London, England, and Ireland, and Nigeria, like that's not going to help you. You're going to have this really big number and it's going to make you feel like, you've got something that you don't. So it's crafting that. And then also your content strategy, which, everybody loves to hate. But it is really important because it's very hard for you to show the depth of your knowledge in just a profile. So it's, again, helping to really fill out that photo. And then on the corporate side, it's, okay, what is the overarching strategy for the entire company on LinkedIn? How are we leveraging our subject matter experts on the platform? Do they know how to make the most of the platform? And, just ultimately the overarching brand strategy on LinkedIn as a platform. So that takes form in consulting as well as workshops.
Gotcha. Awesome. Now, where can they find you online?
So they can find me online. And I hesitate because I'm like, my website is under development. It's being redeveloped. So it's at salesfluence.co. That's my website. And that you can find out all the information there about how we could work together. You can obviously find me on LinkedIn. And it's Belinda Aramide on LinkedIn. And I guess that's it. I do hang out on Instagram a little bit, but not too much. So I tend not to direct people over there, but it's belinda.aramide over on Instagram if I decide to show up there.
Gotcha. Now, you said you didn't answer the question the first time, but I will say after you did answer the question and you explained the services that you did, I was like, that was pretty brilliant what she did. Because it's like before, you actually just kind of walked us through an example of what you did. I guess it's kind of like delivering the value up front with the, hey, having the right type of conversation. And then you explain what you did. I love the brilliant touch. That's value first right there.
Always. I think it's hard, especially if you are a service-based entrepreneur to, you're asking for a really high level of trust, right? If I'm buying a new car, I get to see it and touch it and be like, okay, so when I order it, I'm going to get exactly that, right? And they're like, yep, you're going to get exactly that. But when you have a service, there's a high level of trust that people are instilling that you can actually do the thing that you say you're going to do. Like I call a plumber and I'm like, I see all these good reviews online. You better show up and do all the stuff that but you just don't know, right? You're just hoping for the best. And so I think especially for service-based entrepreneurs, being able to provide value as early in the process as possible is really important to building that trust so people feel like, okay, I can go out and do this. But it wasn't intentional. I will let everyone know.
Gotcha. So before we wrap up, the question that I'd like to ask every guest that comes on, when you think about, your type of business and really helping people maximize the LinkedIn tool when it comes to their sales, what are 2 tips that you would share with someone who's trying to figure out, LinkedIn as a sales tool?
Good question. So I think I would piggyback on, how I explained how it is that I work with executives on LinkedIn. I think first and foremost, it's really fill out your profile. I think the biggest, the the biggest thing that you can do, and I've seen it happen with my clients, is have a profile that really tells your professional story. Because people are searching for the products and services that entrepreneurs have. But if you don't have a profile that is filled out and is just, LinkedIn is no longer just a place for your digital resume. So take the time to fill out your profile, and really speak to your prospect. That's who you're talking to, right? You're not speaking to a recruiter. You're not looking for a job. You're looking for clients. So in order to do that, your profile needs to speak to a client, and again, not to a recruiter. And then I think the second thing, because I know that content can feel really overwhelming for people, and we don't have enough time to go over content strategy right now. But again, would be to connect with quality people and start having conversations with them, excuse me, via direct message. Because people do business with people, not profiles. So, kind of spend some time thinking about, okay, who are the kind of clients that I think that I can do business with, and that I can really, add some value to and for, and then start connecting with those people. But then you got to take it a step further, right? It's like, if you have $1 million in the bank, it really doesn't matter until you actually do something with that $1 million. Invest it in stocks, buy a house, buy shoes. I don't care what you do with it. It's the money itself is not valuable. It's the things that you're able to do because of the transfer of money that becomes valuable. So you need to not just have a Rolodex of all these CEOs that, you're connected to. It's try and start those conversations with them.
Gotcha. Well, Belinda, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your insight. We'll definitely include some links so people can follow you and see what you're up to, and to contact you to do business with you, because I think that being able to use LinkedIn in an effective manner, I think is, especially now, since everybody's at home with the home quarantine, it's like it's
Right?
become a go-to tool for a lot of people.
It is. It's like, where do you go for business now? LinkedIn. See, I tried to tell everybody in 2019. Y'all didn't want to listen. I promise I had nothing to do with the pandemic. This is not some big strategy for business. Charlie, I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to click the subscribe button and follow us on all social media platforms as the Business Talk Library.